how can I make a patriotic pinecone wreath to honor our veterans?
Welcome friends, it's Gail here. Luba and I have a fun and easy patriotic pinecone wreath that you can create. We'll begin by cutting and wrapping our burlap ribbon around a 14-inch wire frame. The cheapest place I could find 6-inch burlap ribbon was off of craftoutlet.com. A 10-yard roll costs $5 or less. I am using dusty rose, blue, and white 6-inch burlap ribbon. I am cutting the ribbon into 6-inch squares. I can cover the entire wreath form by cutting 4 dusty rose, 3 blue, and 3 white burlap squares. Next, I'm holding the sewn edges vertically and cutting all of the squares in half. The dusty rose and blue strips are now finished. However, I need to make a template and alter the white strips. After placing a section of the wire wreath form on a piece of paper, I am using a marker to draw out a middle third of a section. Now I am centering the white burlap strips over the template so that the top outer points of the diagonal lines connect with the vertical lines on the strips. After I draw the lines inward, I'm drawing the lines outward to create tiny little triangles to cut out on each side. The 6 white strips will wrap around the wreath like this. When gluing on the strips, I like to start with a dusty rose and match up the sewn edge with a vertical line on the wreath form. After applying glue to the section where I want to add the ribbon, I center the ribbon on the front, press it down, turn it over on the back side, and glue the ends down. Taking a second dusty rose strip, I'll take the vertical sewn edge on the right side and match it up with the right vertical line within the same section on the wreath. Glue it on the front and glue it on the back as well. To the left of the dusty rose strips, I'll add 5 strips of the blue. On the right side, I'll continue to add 7 strips of dusty rose and 6 strips of white to represent the 13 colonies and the 13 stripes on the American flag. It takes 18 3-inch wide strips to cover the entire wreath form. Out of the 6 sections on the wreath, 4 full sections will be filled up with the red and white stripes. In the remaining 2 sections, 1 section will consist of 1 dusty rose and 2 blue strips and 1 full section of blue strips. Let's talk about gathering and gluing pine cones to the wreath frame. When I started this wreath, I didn't take into account how small the pine cones have to be in the center. And now that I have my burlap wrapped around here, I'm going to explain this a little differently in this video so that you can learn from some of my learning experience along the way here. What we need for this project are 54 pine cones. They're going to go from small, medium to large, and they're going to fit on these areas pretty much. Really think of this as a game. It's like a puzzle and an Easter egg hunt all in one, because it's about finding 18 small pine cones that fit together snugly in the center. I'll leave a couple links for pine cones on Amazon in case you can't find these in your area. I'm going to take my white ones out and I'm going to spray them, bring them back, and then take the red ones out, spray them, and then I'll flock them so that way I know what I have here right in the center. If creating a patriotic wreath for outdoors, I recommend painting it only. You can spray paint it or use craft acrylic paints. Flocking and treating pine cones is near the end of this video. I will begin by gluing the inner and middle rows of pine cones. The outer row will include additional steps. I use 2 types of glue when gluing on the pine cones. The first glue is Tight Bond multi-surface glue. It dries clear. I put a little bit of that in the center. Then I take a hot glue gun and add hot glue around the Tight Bond glue, so that way I have 2 different glues that hold it in place to help create a stronger and faster hold. need additional support. I will make a ramp by taking jumbo popsicle sticks, cutting 1 to 1/4 inch off one end, and gluing the larger popsicle sticks on the back side, extending from the inner to outer pine cones. Painting the jumbo sticks is optional. Provided you have comments and questions about the processes we use, please leave a comment. We love hearing from you. Now I'll turn the wreath over so I can create the ramp. I am gluing the remaining popsicle sticks with the rounded edges underneath the pine cones on the wreath form and the straight edges on the base popsicle sticks. These ramps will create solid and strong bases for the pine cones. I'm using Eileen's glitter snow to make stars on the blue section. There will be 5 dots on the outer pine cones, 3 dots on the middle ones, and 2 dots on the inside to equal 50. That equals to 25 on the outside, 15 dots in the middle, and 10 dots in the center. When creating an indoor pine cone wreath, I really like coloring and flocking my pine cones so that I can create my own colors and make the pine cones a little softer in places and more rich in color. To color our flocking material, we use colored tempera powder. Even though it's washable, once it's combined with the self-adhesive flocking material, it solidifies. For our flocking material, we use snow flock that you can buy in a 2-pound bag off of Amazon. We start off by using 3 parts white to 1 part color. When mixing red, this combination makes a dark pink. In order to make it more red, we add a Colors of Love Ravishing Red color powder, and we add 1 ounce to that. So 3 ounces white flock, red tempera powder, and 1 ounce Ravishing Red color. Mix that together and you have a beautiful red. We combine all of our ingredients in a canister and shake them up. Flocking the pine cones is super easy. I lay all my pine cones out in a casserole dish, spritz them with water on the top and the sides, pour my flocking color into a strainer, and sift it on top and the sides of the pine cones. Lastly, I spritz the pine cones once more with water. To get a desired effect, I can repeat this process more than once. I like to combine blue and black together to create a darker blue. I start off with 1 ounce of blue and add a ½ teaspoon of black, shake it in with my flocking material, and have a beautiful dark blue. I simply use the white flocking powder over the off-white spray painted pine cones. When making the hanger, I take coated picture framing wire and wrap the ends around the lower second ring on the wreath form. The top vertical line on the wreath form is in the center of the hanger. The wire ends are then wrapped up on the sides of the hanger. And to our most deserving veterans, cheers to you. Thank you for serving our country. Here's how we treat our pine cones for crafts. We covered a baking sheet with wax paper, set the oven for 200 degrees Fahrenheit, and baked our pine cones for 30 minutes so we could get rid of bugs and any sap that might be left inside the pine cones. After you take them out and they cool off, they're ready for flocking. Provided you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing.